membership, we've been taking a close look at what it means to be part of a church or what it means to be a member of a church. Well, so this week we're going to be shifting gears just a little bit. We're still going to be talking about the church, but instead of talking about church membership or being a part of a church, we're going to discuss what is actually the purpose of the church. Why is the church even here? And that's going to be the big question that we're going to tackle this morning is, why is the church even here? And I said, when I mentioned the word church this morning, I am not referring to any particular church. I'm not referring to this church building we are meeting in right now. I'm not referring to the church up on a hill. But I am talking about the universal church, the big church as a whole. Any gathering, no matter where at in this world, any gathering of Christ followers, the church as a whole. That's what I'm talking about this morning, and is why is the church even here. But before we talk about what the church is and its purpose, it is good to get an understanding of, first of all, what the church is not. What the church is not. And it's like some of these we've already talked about over the past couple weeks. But it's like, first of all, we have already learned that the church is not a country club. The church is not a place where you go to be served, where you go to be pampered. It's not a place where you go to be catered to. We dispelled that myth back in the very first week of this series we've been going through. And it's like, secondly, the church is not just a group of people who happen to gather together in houses or in buildings on a weekend. It's like the church is a lot more than just the people. Truthfully, the church is not even the church building that we are in right now. This building that we are in right now, this is a church building, but this building itself is not the church. People are born and die every day, and so buildings are just sticks and bricks. There are so much more to church than just people and buildings. And it's like, lastly, the church is not an organization that was created by man simply to ensure that a Christian worldview or a Christian version of religion is taught and, let's say, passed down. Yes, there is religious aspects to the church, but the church's purpose is much greater than just another religion. Because, see, Christianity is less about religion and it's more about a relationship, mainly a relationship with Jesus Christ. So then the church is much more than just passing down some form of religion. So then that brings up the question, then what is the church? What is the purpose of the church? And why is the church even here to start with? As I turn with me in your Bibles to 2 Timothy chapter 2, if you're going to want the Bibles in the pews, it's on page 879. But in 2 Timothy chapter 2, we're going to be looking at the first two verses of chapter 2. And it's in these verses, in these verses, we have the Apostle Paul. He is writing a letter to his apprentice. It's a young pastor named Timothy, and Paul is telling him all about the church. He's telling him what the church is supposed to be. Paul is trying to tell him how to pick pastors, how to pick church leaders. So let's turn to 2 Timothy chapter 2, verses 1 and 2. Paul says, "You therefore, my son, be strong in the grace that is in Christ Jesus, and the things that you have heard from me among many witnesses, commit these things down to faithful men who will also be able to teach others." Thus, who will be able to teach others also? verses in short, and if you just read through it, it is easy to miss this point, and it's easy to overlook if you're not actually looking for it. But it's Paul actually lays out to the young pastor Timothy what the overall mission of the universal church, the church as a whole is. Paul says, I am passing down to you, Timothy, all of the things that I have seen, all the things that I have been taught. And that's like then you therefore are to take this knowledge and pass it down to others, so then those people can pass it down to others, so then those people can then pass it down to others, and the list goes on and on and on down through the generations. Now that kind of sounds like a contradiction of what I just said earlier when I said that the church is not a passing down of a religion. So that brings the question, what is Paul then passing down? That if we aren't passing down some form of a religion, then what are we passing down? What is Paul passing down that is so important that it needs to be passed down from generation to generation? Well, the answer is, Paul is passing down the first-hand knowledge of Jesus Christ. Mainly his death, his burial, and his resurrection. That's more importantly, Paul is passing down the resurrection of Christ. Paul was thrown into prison numerous times, and Paul was eventually executed, not for just preaching Jesus. He didn't get in trouble for preaching Jesus. He was put in prison and is eventually executed for simply preaching the actual resurrection of Jesus. He was put to death because he said that Jesus was dead, buried, and then came back to life. That's what Paul was put to death for. Because see that the resurrection is what turned the world upside down. It was not a religion. It was not a set of rules passed down. It is the resurrection of Christ that turned the world upside down. Because see, we as Christians, we don't worship just another religion. We actually worship, we get to celebrate an actual historic event called the resurrection. See, because the resurrection is the cornerstone of our belief as a church. And it's like Paul says in another one of his letters, without the resurrection, he says that the Christian faith is nothing. It has nothing. Paul says that if the resurrection is not true, if it did not happen, then if we as a Christian should be, we would be the most pitied people on this earth. And that's the exact words that he uses. We are the most pitied people on this earth if the resurrection is not true. And this is what we are to be passing down as the church. But there is still more to do as the church than just talking about Jesus and talking about his resurrection. There is still so much more for us to be doing. We are also called to actually live out these teachings of Jesus. We aren't just supposed to pass these down as they tell some kind of Sunday school stories, but we are also to live these teachings out. James 1 verse 22 says that we are to be doers of the word, not just mere hearers of the word. We aren't just supposed to hear the word, but we are also supposed to be doing these things that Christ called, which means we are called to preach to the lost. We are called to feed the hungry. We are called to love the widows and the orphans. We are called to visit the imprisoned. And we are also called to do all of those crazy little quirky things that like Jesus taught us. These things that we hate, such as love our enemies. We are supposed to love our enemies. Christ says that we are supposed to pray for the people that persecute us. We are to actually forgive a person when they do do us wrong. And it's like somehow we are supposed to also do this crazy little thing that Christ taught that is called turning the other cheek. We are supposed to turn the other cheek. Now, yes, we're supposed to pass down the teachings of Jesus, but we are also called to do the hard work of actually living these teachings out. So then the even bigger, the even greater mission and the purpose of the church, and this is actually greater than the teaching, is that you can actually say that our work as the church is to continue the work that Christ himself started on his earth back when he was on this earth. We are to be the people that continue the work that he started. That's like to put it simply, the church, we are supposed to be the hands, the arms, the feet, the legs, the eyes, the ears, and the mouth, and we as the church are to be the heart of Christ here on this earth. And so the Apostle Paul taught us this earlier. That's the fact that we see Paul described the church by using the human body. Paul says that some are the arms, some are the legs, some are the feet, some are the hands. It's like so on and so on. Remember we talked about this a few weeks ago. The church is supposed to be, and the church should be the visual representation of Christ to a lost and a broken world. We are supposed to be Christ on this earth. People on the outside should look at us as a church member and as they see a visual representation of Jesus Christ. As so back to the verses that we read, Jesus is the one that actually laid the groundwork for what Paul was telling Timothy to do here. Because see, remember, Paul tells Timothy, it's like to teach others what I have taught you. It's like have them teach others what you've taught them, and it's like continue to pass this down through the generations. So then that brings up the question, how did Jesus model this? How did Jesus set the template for us actually doing this? Jesus spent 3 years training up a group of 12 nobodies. Jesus took a group of fishermen, he took a group of tax collectors, he took a group of everyday, average Joe nobodies, and it's like Jesus set them out in pairs and he simply told them, that's to go out and preach the things that I told you to say, as to just do the things that you see me doing. Christ sent these men out in pairs. That's like to do what they have seen. That's like to teach what they have heard. It was actually that simple. That's like this started with the 12 disciples. Jesus sent them out to simply to preach and to heal. That's in Luke chapter 9. And then later on, Jesus sends them out into a larger group of 70 to like simply preach and heal. That's in Luke chapter 10. And finally, after Christ's resurrection, this here's when Christ is ascended into heaven, Christ gives us one last order. Christ gives us one last command. Christ says that's like to go into all the world. It's like to make more disciples. Christ is saying go out to the world and it's like make more Jews. All the things that you've heard me teach, pass these things down. All the things that you see me do, you go out and do them yourself now. That's like simply put, go out and make more disciples. And this is what we call the Great Commission. This is the commission of the church, is to go out and make more disciples. It's like it actually starts with just teaching the things that Christ taught. That's like doing the things that he's doing. So this morning, I've talked a lot about the universal church. I've talked a lot about the big church as a whole. And it's like what the purpose of the church and it's why the church is here. So then, mean for the individual local church? What does all this mean for Afton Chapel? What does this mean for you and me that are sitting in here this morning? I've talked about the big church. I've talked about the universal church. So what does all of this mean for us as the local church that is meeting on Sunday mornings? What does all this mean for you and me this morning? It's like the local church, churches like Afton Chapel, Village Church, Wayne Hills Church, and it's the church up on the hill, Greater Grace. Our purpose as the local church is to just simply carry out the purpose of the universal church. It's like inside of our own community. We are to be the body of Christ right here in Afton. We are to carry out the work of Christ right here in Afton, right here in Nelson County, right here in Augusta County. We, as the local church, we are to continue the work that Christ, He started right here in our own backyard. We are to be His arms, His feet, His eyes, His heart, right here in inside of our own community. People should look at us as a church and it's like see Christ. People should look at you as a church member as they see Christ. It's like if they don't, then there's a great big huge problem. There is something missing. We are to be carrying out the work of Christ right here in our own community, right here at our places of work, inside of our families. We are to be fulfilling there's the mission of the universal church inside of our own communities. And so then that brings up the question, what did Christ do? What did Christ do that we are now supposed to be doing? What did He do that we should now be doing inside of our own communities? First of all, Jesus forgave the unforgivable. Jesus touched the untouchables. We did a whole series on that back in the summer. Jesus went around and say Jesus taught the crowds. Jesus fed the crowds. Jesus healed the sick. Jesus went around mending the brokenhearted. But it's above all, Jesus just simply loved. Jesus loved the people. Jesus loved the crowds. Jesus didn't just love the church and the righteous people. Jesus touched the untouchables. Jesus loved the unlovable. He forgave the unforgivable. And so Jesus said, people will know you by your love. People won't know you by your big fancy buildings or your fancy lights or your nice new hip up-to-date music. Jesus says that He says that the world will know you simply by your love. Jesus' final lesson that He taught His disciples on the last night that Christ would be alive on this earth. Jesus taught His disciples to simply love others as I have loved you. Jesus says, I give you a new commandment. Jesus didn't say, I am giving you a new suggestion. I am giving you a new step in the process. I am giving you my opinion. Jesus says, I am giving you a new commandment. And that commandment is to love others as you have seen me love you. That Jesus' whole mission for coming to this earth was to love and to forgive. Jesus loved us to the very point of death. And that there was His mission. His mission is love. And so His mission is now our mission as His church. We are to be people of love. The people should look at us and see Christ's love. And this is what we are to be passing down. We aren't passing down a set of rules. We aren't even passing down the Ten Commandments through the generations. We are to be passing down the actual love of Christ. We are to be telling people, like, hey, look, there's something called forgiveness. There's something called grace. There's something called love. Jesus went to the cross. That's so you can have a second life, so so you can have a second chance. We are not passing down a religion. We are passing down the love of Christ. And this is the purpose of the church. And this is what Paul is telling young Timothy to be doing. You are to be passing these things down. You are to be passing down the love of Christ. And that is why the church is here. That is why we meet every Sunday morning, so that we can learn what Jesus taught. But yet we are to take these things out into the outside world, and we are to actually carry out what Christ started. We are to pass down what he has already started. As this great purpose of the universal church, this is carried out by us. This is carried out by the small, everyday, local, run-of-the-mill church. It's carried out by the local church. And so when we understand this, and when we understand what our full mission as a church is, that there makes it hard for us to come in here on Sunday mornings with that good old boy country club attitude when we're just waiting to be served and is pampered. Because see, now we understand that there is way too much at stake. We understand that there are people's lives on the line. There is people's eternity on the line. There is so much more to the church than just us coming on Sunday mornings and it's singing songs and it's hearing me preach. We are to actually take what the Bible says and we are to take it to an outside lost world. We are to tell them of the love of Christ, and we are to demonstrate to them the actual love of Christ. So then, why are we here this morning? What is the purpose of the church? What's the purpose of this church? And the purpose is to carry out the work that Christ started. We are just to carry out what he's already done. We aren't supposed to add to it. We aren't supposed to take away from it. We are just to simply carry on what Christ has already started. And I think the main message that he started was love. He gave us a story of redemption. He taught us about forgiveness. And that is what we are supposed to be passing down. We are supposed to be passing down the life, it's the crucifixion, the death, the burial, and most importantly, we are to tell people about the resurrection of Jesus Christ. That is what we are to be doing. We are to be carrying out the work that Christ has already started. Let us